the News Channel 5 network. This is SportsLine.
All right, good evening, Nashville. Welcome to SportsLine. I am Jon Burton, filling in for Steve Lehman, who normally has this spot on Mondays and Tuesdays. But Steve, of course, still making his way back to Nashville from Anaheim, where he covered games 1 and 2 of the Western Conference Finals between the Nashville Predators and the Anaheim Ducks. As you probably know by now, that series now tied 1-1. Preds taking game 1 Friday in overtime on a game-winning goal by James Neal. Last night, they had a 2-0 lead. Gave up a power play goal late in the period, and then in the second period, the Ducks go crazy, scoring 3 goals. Preds take the lead back, but they eventually end up on the wrong end of a 5-3 final score. So now this series is tied 1-1. Game 3 is tomorrow night here in Nashville at Bridgestone Arena. It promises to be a rocking atmosphere. So you can look at it in a number of ways. You can look at it where the Preds had a golden opportunity to win both games in Anaheim and a chance to come home up 2-0. But most teams will tell you when you start a series on the road, the goal is to get a split. And that's exactly what they did. So as of now, the Preds do have home ice advantage in this series. So your thoughts on what you saw last night, what you saw going forward in this series is welcome. Love to hear from Preds fans tonight. 737-7767 is the number to call. A couple of things of note that I saw and kind of observed in these first 2 games. Man, it is physical between these 2 teams. A lot of hard hits, a lot of borderline, over-the-line hits. Of course, the whole situation between Ryan Johansen and Ryan Kessler going on right now. Of course, Ryan Johansen, to his credit, not backing down from Ryan Kessler, who's taken a lot of verbal and physical jabs at the Predators' top-line centerman. And you like the fact that Johansen's not backing down from this situation. That wasn't always the case when he played for Columbus, and now I think he's maturing a little bit. But at the beginning of this series, I said we had our special on Friday at 6:30, our Quest for the Cup Preds special. At the beginning of the series, I said that the Predators would win this game in 6 games, win this series rather in 6 games. They would get a split in Anaheim, which they've done and which they are still on track to do. But I look at the physical nature of this series, and we all know the Ducks are a big, physical, at times intimidating team. Something tells me that this physicality, the way the Ducks are playing right now, could, and I stress the word could, take its toll eventually on the Preds and wear them down. The Ducks are determined this is the way they're going to play, and the Predators have done a good job adjusting to the style of each series during this playoff run. Obviously, against Chicago Blackhawks, it was a speed series. The Blackhawks with their great scorers on their team. And then, of course, the St. Louis Blues series was a much more physical series. But I think the physicality has gone up a few notches with the Anaheim Ducks. And I'm wondering if that physical nature could take its toll on the Preds and eventually wear them down. We'll, of course, find out. Again, it's a 1-1 series. Game 3 tomorrow night in Smashville. Game 4 on Thursday, also in Nashville as well. Game 5 will be next Saturday in Anaheim, and so on and so on and so forth. So your thoughts on the Predators are welcome. 615-737-7767. I want to remind everybody, next segment, we're going to have our buddy Robby Stanley, who covers the Predators for NHL.com. He will join us on the phone. We'll get his thoughts on the physicality of this series, the whole Johansen versus Kessler situation that's going on right now, and what he sees in this series going forward, not only tomorrow night, but the rest of this series. So once again, your phone calls, love to hear from you, 737-7767. Also, we're going to get into a little bit about what we saw and heard at Titans rookie minicamp over the weekend. The Titans rookies, undrafted free agents, and tryout players all on the field over at St. Thomas Sports Park. Head coach Mike Malarkey and his staff putting the boys through the paces. Limited amount of work for for their top draft pick, 5th overall, Corey Davis, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan, still nursing an ankle injury. Was able to get out and do some things, but he was limited for most of this mini camp. Of course, Adoree Jackson, the cornerback, also their co-first-round pick, picked 18th overall. And there's a lot of buzz about his versatility right now. We all know that he's an outstanding corner, Jim Thorpe Award winner. but also a dynamic kick returner and maybe a guy that can help the Titans on offense. Head coach Mike Mularkey kind of mummed about all that, wouldn't get into that. But you'd have to think there are some plans to maybe incorporate him, maybe have a special package of plays for Adoree Jackson. Just when you look at his abilities with ball in hand, looks like he could be a dangerous weapon for the Titans, not only on defense but also in the kick return game and on offense. So the Titans rookies in town, we're going to hear from some of them later on in the show. Which rookie are you most excited about, Titans fans? Haven't heard from you in a while. 615-737-7767. That number is available to you if you want to talk Titans rookies or Titans in general. So plenty going on. Some news and notes. Roger Federer, 18-time Grand Slam tennis winner, announcing today he will not play in the French Open. 35-year-old Feds has decided to stay off of clay courts this season to help prolong his career. He's been dealing with knee and back injuries over the years, so no Roger Federer at this year's French Open. So you're pretty much up to date on what's going on. You know about the Predators, you know about the Titans, and we want to hear from you. 737-7767. While we're doing that and while we await Robby Stanley to join us next segment, let's hear from the Predators as they arrive today, late this afternoon from Anaheim. Here's head coach Peter Laviolette.
Coach, you think it's possible for the fans to maybe even take it to another level in these next 2 years?
That'd be great. They're great during the regular season. They've been unbelievable in the playoffs. I'm sure it's you know, as we move on, everything gets heightened a little bit, but they've been terrific.
Peter, since the press conference from last night, have you seen or heard Ryan Johansson's comments in the locker room about Ryan Kesler?
No.
You like the way on the ice that Joey has responded. There hadn't been a lot of backing down, certainly in his game, it appears.
No, I said last night I think they're playing well. You know, they're contributing offensively, and it was a tough call on Joe last night. It was, like I said, it was a face-off play. It was more of an accidental high stick, and I think he's done a good job. He's playing really well. Their line's playing well. They're generating a lot.
Has he changed his game at all, maybe physically? You know, is he more likely to go at it head-to-head with a guy like Kesler than maybe when you first are on it?
I think he's grown as a player. I think he's getting better. I think anytime you gain experiences, even last year in the playoffs and now this year, I think he's just becoming more experienced, more mature as a player, and you know, I think he's played well. He's played against checking lines before. He's gone head-to-head with top lines before, and that line is able to still maintain some of the best numbers in the league either way. So I think that they're doing a good job.
Wasn't what you're describing in some ways a rite of passage for a young player like Ryan getting playoff experience this deep into the postseason?
Well, probably anybody. I don't know about a rite of passage, but that's the nature of a career, I guess. If you can get in the playoffs enough, is that you experience it once, and then you maybe try to take it to the next level, and then you try to keep moving on and getting better, and ultimately with the hope of being successful at the end. So not only Ryan is in that situation, but probably 2/3 of our team, 3/4 of our team are in that situation where they've experienced some things over the last couple of years, and now they're in a situation where they're trying to push even further.
Yeah, physicality is always a big factor in the playoff, and the first 2 games showed pretty much. Now coming back at home, would you try to find a way to put your speed and your talent aside of the physicality and maybe get around that aspect of the game of the Ducks for the 2 home games that you have forward this week?
Yeah, there's no question that they play a physical game. Our team's been able to do it different ways and play different styles. You know, we have home ice, so we'll be able to find matchups that we either want or don't want a little bit easier. But you know, I think like I said, our guys I think they're accustomed to playing different types of game. To get through Chicago, you had to play one way. To get through St. Louis, you had to play a different way. So I think the guys will be fine.
We'll take one more for Coach.
Peter, I know that you said that you didn't hear the comments, but he was clearly, Ryan Johansson was clearly frustrated after last night's game. I know that you said that he was composed on the ice. I mean, how do you reconcile the on-ice composure with maybe the post-game frustration?
I didn't read his comments, so I can't reference them. I can tell you that I just saw him on the plane and he's composed. I saw him on the ice last night, he's composed. So he'll be ready to play tomorrow.
Coach, you've been able to see an actual comfort level difference at home?
This is an illegal question, isn't it, Kevin?
Just got to go ahead.
I gave him the back door. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Pre-approved.
Go ahead, sorry.
Have you been able to see an actual different level of comfort from the guys at home versus on the road?
I think we played pretty well on the road.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like our guys didn't show up and compete last night. It was a hard-fought game. Give the edge to them last night. We won a big game one. The same thing in St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we played bad in game two. I think our guys competed really hard. I think there's always a little bit of a comfort level at home, especially in our building when you get behind our fans and into that environment. It's a boost for us, and I think our guys have proven that by, you know, the record in the playoffs and the record in the regular season. So, you know, we're excited to get back home in front of them.
Preds head coach Peter Laviolette in a little bit better mood today than he was last night immediately after the game. A very short press conference for Lavi last night. Short answers. Nothing like a good night's sleep, maybe a couple of meals and a long plane ride. I think the realization is setting in that mission, you know, despite a tough loss last night, mission accomplished for the most part for the Preds as they gain a split in Anaheim in the Western Conference Finals. So again, this series tied 1-1 with Game 3 set for tomorrow night at Bridgestone Arena. Should be a great atmosphere. The weather is supposed to be warm and beautiful, so I'm sure the folks in Smashville will be getting there early and taking their medicine. A 7 o'clock start, I believe, for Game 3 tomorrow night, not the dreaded 8:30 or 9 o'clock start that we've had in the first two rounds. So the Preds get a split. They could have easily come back up 2-0, but they're not. They have to face that reality, and they have to face the reality, as we said at the top of the show, that they are in a very, very physical series now with the Anaheim Ducks, and they're going to have to match that physicality for the rest of the season or risk getting worn down. So we will see what happens there. Coming up later in the show, we're going to hear more from the Predators, more fallout from last night's 5-3 loss to the Anaheim Ducks. Try to get into some Titans talk as well. But up next, after the break, we're going to hear from our buddy Robby Stanley from NHL.com, who covers the Nashville Predators. Get his thoughts on Game 2 last night and what it means for the Preds going forward. And also, what's going on with this whole Ryan Kesler, Ryan Johansson thing? We'll ask him next, plus your phone calls. Stay with us.